A day like today, a cold, a dreary day, you need a delicious warm soup, am I right?
Oh, you are right.
So we're back with personal chef Bill Collins from chefbill.com, and we're gonna make a split pea soup.
Yes, split pea soup. It's a favorite for mine growing up. Always loved pea soup. And the great thing about it is it's such a hearty soup and it's got so many variations. This one is a classic pea soup with a ham bone. You can make a vegetarian version, which of course would mean no ham. You can also do it with chicken, make it a little bit leaner than the ham, but we can also make this very lean in keeping with the New Year's resolution. So it's just the most versatile, flavorful soup on the planet.
And it's really healthy. I always thought because it was thick and creamy that meant it wasn't too good for you.
Well, the one word you use there, creamy, there's no cream in pea soup.
There's not. See, I've never made it.
So where's the cream come from? Or the
there-
creamy texture?
Because what happens is when you start out with dried peas, just like this, it takes about an hour or so, but they really cook down. And so when we see afterwards, when we see the finished soup, you'll see it's so creamy. It's just the peas cooking, and then the longer you cook them, they turn mushy.
Huh.
And so that's all there is. There's no, and I don't even put this in a blender, and that just shows you how thick and creamy the soup is.
And
does
how
all the work
easy
for
it
you.
is, too.
Yeah, oh yeah, it does all the work for you. Now you can, because one of the things I also like to put in here are diced carrots and onions. And again, I like those cook down, and those will get mushy too. So I like seeing them in there, but if you want to puree them, you could do that. So with this soup, some of the things that make it so easy are you take a ham bone, so if you have whether it be a spiral cut ham, which makes it actually a little bit sweeter, or any kind of a smoked ham, so you want one that's cooked, because it'll be that much faster, there are two ways. What I like to do is to take some chicken stock, half chicken stock, half water, so about 8 cups or 2 quarts worth, and I put them in the pot with the bone. I take all the meat off the bone, but there's still some on there. And then I bring it to a simmer, and it cooks for about an hour or so. And what happens is that you really, all of a sudden, instead of having just water or chicken stock, you've got this ham-flavored stock. And that really infuses the whole soup. And also what happens is because it's simmering away there, little bits of the ham come off, so you have even more bits of ham in there.
It's hammier.
And here's the healthy part, is what you might want to do is after that simmered for an hour, take it off the stove, cool it down, even refrigerate it. And so you might want to do this hours or a day ahead of time, because then once it's cooled, you can skim the fat off the top. And that brings in, again, with the New Year's resolution to eat healthier, it's not going to be that much fat, but it'll make it that much healthier.
Nice.
So whether you do that step or skip that step, and this is really kind of a basic with all soups, you've got your stock, then you add, in this case, the peas. And you can sift through them, make sure there are no either little stones or they're clean.
Really?
But
Would there be?
I haven't found one in years. But
you never know.
You never know.
That's
Oh.
the important part.
And the reason it's called both pea soup or split pea soup is the peas, they take the peas and then they're dried and then split in half. And a reason for that is they're going to cook that much faster.
Now, Chef Bill, do you have to rinse them?
You don't
Before you
have
put them
to. Some people recommend it.
There's certain beans, like people say I should rinse off my lentils.
I often do lentils. I'm not going to say lentils are dirty, but these.
Don't insult a big lentil.
Exactly. These have usually been cleaned in the process, so you can skip that step if you want. But so you've got the dried peas, and when you've got the stock, I like to leave the bone in there. Put the peas in, let it simmer for about an hour. And what's going to happen is these are really going to break down and turn mushy. Now, some people like to have some shape of pea in their soup, but I like to turn it all to mush. And so once these are completely all the way cooked through, near the end, actually I skipped a step. When I put the peas in, I also put in diced ham. If I have some, that's great. If there's just the meat on the bone, that's fine too. That's going to give you even more protein. And again, you can turn this into a meal. So then, once these are cooked through, throw in the vegetables. These are going to simmer in the pot 20 minutes, and then they're going to be cooked through. So the whole thing, beginning to end, once you've got the stock as you want it, this whole thing is going to take you not even an hour and a half.
You know what's interesting about these vegetables? Usually when you're making a lot of soups, you want to put those in on the earlier side, but now you kind of finish with these.
Right, and the reason that, now in this case, you can put them in on the earlier side because they're going to turn mushy, but with most soups, you're going to have it ready in 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, because you're really just cooking the vegetables through. But in this case, you're taking the dried pea and you have to cook them through.
Because you have to hydrate the pea.
And so if you do put those in, they're just going to be completely mushy and broken down, which is fine, because they're all going to give you flavor. I just like seeing a little shape in there and a little bit of texture. So these are all, in a way, soup basics, but this is also how it applies specifically to the pea soup.
So these are the only ingredients that go into it. It's very, very basic, isn't
It's
it? There's
very
no
basic.
crazy amount of herbs or spices or
No.
anything.
Now, if you go online and look at recipes, there's so many variations. I've made this with cumin to kind of give it a little Middle Eastern flavor. Some people like to put other herbs in. I like mine just very basic. I just love the flavor of pea soup. And then just finish it with some salt and pepper when it's done. So again, keep it simple, and you really do have this great soup.
Now here's a simple question. I've never made pea soup before. Can you use frozen peas?
No.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is because they're not going from dry, they'll just turn into quick mush. And what you'll end up having is it'll be almost like a chicken soup. They'll just be broken down mushy peas. You probably have to start with a ton, almost literally a ton of peas for them to really break down
There's
and
probably
give you the texture.
Too much moisture in them too.
All of it, and because these have been dried, shrunk enough, because
Right.
all the moisture has been taken out. Because that's really an excellent point. There's no moisture left in here, so you're adding it, so they're going to expand a little bit, but that's going to give you your body.
Oh,
Gotcha.
wow. All right, so we're going to throw this all together. We're not done with the soup. We're going to show the finished product when we come
Absolutely.
back. So we're going to come back with Chef Bill Collins. Don't go anywhere. More Mass Appeal coming up.
Welcome back to Mass Appeal.
We're back in the kitchen to finish up our split pea soup recipe with
Yep.
Chef Bill Collins from chefbill.com. Now, before the break, we actually just threw everything in the pot. Magic
Yes.
of TV, there's the
Magic of
finished
TV,
product.
I happen to have split pea soup because through
Look
the
at
long
that.
commercial, that was actually an hour and a half. So, and actually you can see, because you were asking me about the creaminess of the pea soup, and I'm going to ladle some out here, and you can see how thick and creamy that is. There is no cream in there. It's very hot.
That is great that it's so hearty and creamy without having to add heavy cream.
You know, one
or
of the things,
butter or
that's
anything.
exactly it. Now, and
you.
actually, I made some toast croutons. I'll just talk about those in just a moment. But really, just sprinkle a few on there. That's the great thing about pea soup is, as you say, it's such a crazy healthy meal, and no cream, no extra things, and especially as everybody's trying to eat just a little bit healthier.
Now I have a thought. Sometimes when I'm making soup, everything's fine, nothing's sticking to the bottom of the pan. Then I use my immersion blender or a blender and put it back in the pot, and then it starts sticking to the bottom. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, because solid, thick things tend to hit the direct heat on the bottom, and with a waterier soup, it's just more stuff is moving around. It's not going to circulate as much, and not that things are swimming around in your
Yeah.
soup, but it just so happens thick things can burn faster.
Is it unavoidable?
Just turn down the heat or give it a stir more often. And even if there is a skim coat in the bottom, and you'll often find that, because that's such a good question with pea soup, that after it's really cooked down and you stir it, you go, oh my, it's burned on the bottom. It's just a little bit has stuck. But if the temperature is, you're simmering at a medium-low heat, it's not going to be a big
be
burn
good.
or anything like that. So it should work out just fine. One thing I did want to talk about is I just made these toast croutons. These are not oiled croutons. I just took some bread, toasted it up, cut it into little squares, and you end up with nice little croutons on top of the soup.
So it's that easy. It's more or less toast.
It's just toast cut into
could've
squares.
fooled me.
Well, that's the thing, and this is again how I grew up in my childhood. My dad was English, and soups were always a big part, and we always had the toast croutons.
That's tasty.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to try
That
this.
is tasty.
Yeah,
I love pea soup.
and it's such a quick, easy thing.
It's really good.
Thank you.
I do love a good pea soup.
I feel guilty, but I don't have to.
No, no
This is
guilt
so
at all.
good.
And one of the great things about I love about soups is I'm not big on thin soups that very watery. I mean, it's one thing to have a chicken soup because that's a thin soup, but a lot of stuff in it. I like stuff in my soup, and this gives me both. I have a lot of stuff. There are a lot of chunky bits of ham in there. The carrots, and you can see the carrots are mushy. They're cooked through, but you can see chunks of carrot in there, and then you've got the thickness of the pea soup.
Oh
Love
my
it.
gosh, it's so good. And I feel like soup never fills me up, but this could be my meal.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
We had pea soup for dinner last night, so
There you go. It was
it's-
your meal.
Yep. And so it's such
It's
a great.
delicious.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Chef
I was
Bill.
going to say,
Oh, I
if you
love
want
it.
a copy of this recipe or those tips for heating pans, head over to our website, mymassappeal.com, a little bit later today.